Hey, so welcome everyone. I'm super excited today. We're going to be talking with Chris, the co-founder from Flaunt, which does really awesome. I love it. And they have a really cool way of doing loyalty marketing. And I know a lot of you have actually asked me how to do this. Some brands are wondering if they should. We're going to have some best practices a little bit later. But first, Chris, welcome. Welcome. Great to be talking with you. Maybe you can give us a little background. How did you start Flaunt? How did this business come about?
Yeah, Scott, thanks for having me on. Super excited to be here. Yeah, Flaunt started actually a couple of years ago, but I'm going to rewind back and just tell you a little bit more about my story because it directly feeds into starting this business. So I have, majored in marketing in college. I've always been just really fascinated in understanding consumer behavior, why they buy things. Got super obsessed with Mad Men when I was like a junior in college, and so I ended up moving to New York and working in advertising, and did that for over a decade. But in the process, had the opportunity to start this business with my longtime best friend. And when we first started the business, we were kind of sniffing around the loyalty topic. It was leveraging some, brand new blockchain technology was kind of the general space that we were going in. How are brands going to implement this into their businesses? And one of the things that we learned over the course of our journey over the past couple of years is, while the world and consumers and brands weren't necessarily ready to adopt this new type of technology at scale yet. And we actually, no longer really use that as part of our offering. There were some things broken about the loyalty industry, specifically, for brands that are not huge enterprises that have the budget to hire out an entire loyalty team or call on McKinsey to design their loyalty program for them. And that there is major power in being able to have an effective loyalty program, if only you could have, a flexible platform and the resources to help you design and manage that program. And so that's been kind of our learning as we've gone is, new technologies come and go, but really what people need are, more effective ways to gamify customer experiences, to personalize customer experiences. And a lot of Shopify merchants in particular are really lean teams and need the support. And so we are a managed service loyalty partner for brands that are on Shopify.
Yeah, that's awesome. So it sounds like you saw a need in the market and then went into exploring, right? And Flaunt was a result of that.
That's right. I like to say that we are less wrong today than we've ever been. And a year from now, we'll be less wrong then. I mean, that's just the journey that you go through as a startup. But it's been really interesting, because we really only recently kind of discovered like the thing that was most valuable, that was adding the most value to our customers was our services, was our brains, was actually like being hands on keys and managing their loyalty program and optimizing it for them. And so that's really the thing that we kind of lean into as our differentiator in the space.
Yeah, that's awesome. I spent some time in Japan and they have a word Kaizen, which means continuous, never-ending improvement. And I can see that you have that built into your ecosystem and who you are. That's awesome. So can you talk a little bit about why a brand should have a loyalty program, and then what brands are really seeing a lot of success right now? Because I talk to a lot of business owners who don't have a loyalty program, and they say, yeah, we're thinking about it, or we don't know if we want to do it. And some business owners say, I don't like loyalty programs, so then I won't have one. But maybe you could talk about the why loyalty programs are so important, and then what brands are they really crushing, or are crushing in your space right now?
Totally. Well, first of all, just to cut you straight, like not all brands need loyalty programs, and that is a very personal decision to each brand to decide, whether or not it's something that they want to move forward with. I know that a lot of brands have launched loyalty programs, again, especially like in the Shopify ecosystem where everything is just like an app install away. It's really easy. It's oftentimes painted as very easy to just set up a loyalty program, but they can actually be really expensive investments if they're not, properly designed. So I always like to ask people, if just like any marketing program, if you are going to launch a loyalty program, what do you need it to accomplish for your business that you couldn't otherwise accomplish without them? And so again, not every brand needs one, but why the brands who are getting success out of loyalty programs are getting success is because it's prioritized. It's something that shows up throughout their different marketing channels and campaigns that they're running. It's something that is woven seamlessly throughout the customer experience and the customer lifecycle. And the really successful loyalty programs are behavior stimulation machines. They get people to do things that they otherwise may have done. They get people to spend more money. So, our programs typically generate anywhere from 5% to 20%, depending on the scale of the brand, the industry, in incremental net sales. They get people to spend more time with you and share more about themselves, right? So they can help you increase more than just sales. They give compelling reasons through incentives for customers to respond to quizzes or to write reviews, the things that you're trying to get them to do. It's a powerful way to incentivize people to do that. They can also get people to, share the brand or refer the brand, generate organic advocacy. And like I said earlier, they can also make your other marketing campaigns work better because the data that you're collecting through your loyalty program can be used to better personalize and tailor your marketing communications, whether that's email, whether that's SMS, and so forth, as you go. So typically what we see is loyalty emails, kind of as like a broader category, are like the top performing email category that brands are sending, other than like abandoned cart, something that's like really low in the funnel. But because you're able to collect, more data on customers, and then use that in your other channels, leverage loyalty incentives to offer a value exchange. Typically brands are seeing higher revenue %, higher open rate, higher click rates on emails as well. So it can help boost your other channels as well.
Yeah, that's awesome. I haven't heard anyone put it that way. You said behavioral stimulation machines. So a machine that creates behaviors that the businesses want to create. And then you mentioned reviews, and obviously sales is one of those. Can you talk about some of the brands that are having really a lot of success in loyalty, and maybe which ones haven't had a lot of success and why?
Yeah, well, I won't dwell too much on the ones that haven't had success, just because I don't want to put them in an awkward position. But
I didn't mean an exact brand name, but let's just start categories.
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
What kind of categories tend to be really successful with loyalty that you've seen?
Yep. Look, like certain industries tend to lend themselves more to loyalty programs, or you will see loyalty programs more often in beauty and skincare, fast moving consumer goods, certain like fashion and apparel brands, not typically something you see a lot in the luxury space, but those are the industries specific to kind of the Shopify market that you see most frequently. Obviously, like airlines and hotels are really huge. Fintech and FinServe is pretty big in like the broader loyalty market. But loyalty programs are not like one size fits all. Every brand can benefit from a well-designed loyalty program. Again, to go back to the behavior stimulation machine, what are the behaviors that you need to drive, and what are the unique assets that you have as a brand that can incentivize people to do those behaviors? Now, if you are getting, the retention rate that you want as a brand, if you are generating thousands of reviews, if you feel like you are getting out of your other marketing programs the type of LTV, retention rate, and ongoing revenue and engagement from your existing customer base, then you might not need a loyalty program. But typically, those are some of the industries where they can really help you lean into your differentiators and get people to do more. That is the sole purpose of a loyalty program, is get people to do more of the things that you want them to do, and leverage profitable incentives to do it?
Yeah, I think the LTV number is one that a ton of e-commerce brands on Shopify are really trying to track and maximize. Also, the reviews help so much with new customers coming on, especially reviews that showcase something specific about the product versus just a generic, hey, these guys are great. Also, a lot of things, and I've been thinking about this and talking about it a lot on my channel, getting reviews from clients not only helps you find more customers, but they're giving you valuable information. I did a video on what I learned from talking to a pull-up bar, and they answered all of my questions on the pull-up bar packaging to make me buy that. So if you take these reviews and then you put it into a website strategy to get in the minds of your customers, why they're buying, what problems they're having, a great review can help you optimize your website, which is a whole nother thing. So I think it's really powerful. And I know we're going to get to a couple best practices in a minute, but I wanted to talk about mistakes, right? So what are the mistakes when people are coming to you? And I've heard this a lot. We don't have a loyalty program, or we have one. We threw it up on XYZ company, and it does okay. So there's, I already know a few of the mistakes, but just kind of talk about what mistakes you're seeing out there with loyalty. And it could be ideation mistakes that people are thinking about it the wrong way, or not running the program. But I'll let you just run with that for a minute, Chris.
Yeah, there's a couple of, it's such a good question. And there's a couple of sort of categories of mistakes that we see most often. Number one is it's very apparent when a program is just sort of an afterthought. It's something that you threw up on a page. I mean, like a lot of times you'll go to merchant sites and you can't even find the loyalty program unless you scroll down to the very bottom of the site. So if it's something that has just been sort of a box checking exercise, you're probably not going to see a lot of incremental impact. And again, loyalty programs, even if you're not paying a ton for the tech, they can be expensive because of the liability that people are racking up on your balance sheet every time, you know, they're spending and earning points. So if this isn't something that you are really going to invest in, or if it's not going to be even a factor in the customer experience until they're already at checkout, you probably don't need a program. It should be showing up in your email and SMS, like somebody's loyalty status, the rewards that they have available. These are all sort of compelling reason, or their distance from the next tier, right? Those are all sort of compelling nudges that you have that you should be using in email and SMS, or even, you know, your social campaigns talking about the value of the program, and then tying it into your broader marketing calendar. So again, if it's just like sitting kind of on a random page on your website that's hard to get to, and it's not woven into the rest of how you're communicating about your brand, that's like one of the major categories of mistakes that we see. The other is not being super clear up front. This is more of an internal issue about how you're going to measure the incremental revenue impact. So, you know, too often we hear about merchants who set up a loyalty program. Their CEO asks them, you know, during a quarterly review or something, hey, how's the loyalty program doing? And they just don't have a clear answer, you know, or the metrics that they're relying on are heavily skewed. You know, like one of the main metrics that people will look at is like, well, do members spend more than non-members? Pardon my French, but no shit. Members are going to spend more than non-members. That doesn't mean your program is influencing them to spend more. That means they were already going to spend more anyway. Now you're just, you know, giving value away to people who otherwise would have bought. So yeah, that, you know, those are some of the things that we commonly see as mistakes that we're focused on helping brands figure out. Is like, okay, how am I actually going to measure the incremental impact of this program? Which measuring incrementality in any marketing channel is not an exact science, right? It's like, it's not something that, you know, is perfect, but there are ways that you can look at the data. And we are committed to helping brands look at the data in the ways that are best, that are most indicative, rather, of the incremental impact of the program, rather than just,
Because business owners, they want to know that this is impacting their business, and if they can see a difference from before and after, and what the incremental lift is. I think there's also, so you're talking about loyalty programs, and something jumped into my head, creativity. right? 15 points, that doesn't excite me at all. And I typically don't join loyalty programs unless it's a brand I'm really into. And the one that just kind of jumps out to me, there's a sushi restaurant that if you get a number of stamps on this card, you spin a wheel and the wheel gets you some percentage off. My kids love spinning the wheel. I save these cards. It's the only restaurant, and it's a loyalty play for them to get you to come back. They want to spin the wheel. And we all love sushi, and it's a cool restaurant. So we go back there, and I save these cards because it's fun for my family. Yeah. So having
that's a loyalty program, Scott. I hate to break it to you, but that's a loyalty. Yeah, like loyalty programs are not one size fits all. But yeah, sorry, I cut you off.
No, you're exactly right. And because I'm laughing because I'm involved in loyalty programs, and I'm involved with them because they speak to me specifically as a dad, as a consumer. It's fun. I'm excited about doing it. And I've seen so many that are like, okay, here's some points. And I know that some brands who are doing really cool stuff with special events, whether that's in a big city where people who are involved in the brand get free access to. So can you talk about, because I think you're hitting on a mistake, and I'd like to pivot a second to more best practices of what you're seeing works, and even just some of the blocking and tackling. But I think the creative aspect of how you can make a consumer and take them from buying a product, right, to connecting with your brand in a fun way that makes them feel valued and then want to come back, right? So that's not a one size fits all cookie cutter. Here's your software, go run with it. That takes some creative thinking, and sounds like that's what your team is really doing, especially talking with you and Connor, coming up with ideas on how to connect. So can you talk a little bit best practices, and then hit a little bit on this creativity side of how you guys make it fun?
Yeah, well, what you're describing is something that I talk about all the time, Scott. Loyalty programs are games, and not every game is worth playing. It's funny, Connor used to work at Roblox, and anybody who has, a teenager or Gen Z child probably has spent more money than they would like to admit through their child on that platform. But there's millions of games on that platform. Not all of the games are a big hit. And so you hear the word gamification come up quite a bit as it relates to loyalty. You were talking about the spin to win. Points are a tool in the context of gamification, but not every game is a game that's worth playing. Not every game is a game that is, really doing the job of getting people to want to continue to play. And so just having points, doesn't necessarily mean anything if earning those points doesn't offer some sort of clear value on the other side that is desirable. And so what we're ultimately getting at here is a well-designed loyalty program taps into the creative side of marketing, taps into the creative side of your brand, the brand assets and stories that only you can tell. And then it packages up. Again, we talked about like using incentives to drive certain behaviors. It packages those up into a journey and a unique story that you're creating for every brand and how they interact with you. And the loyalty program, and whether you have tiers or not, because you don't need tiers to have a loyalty program. But whether you have tiers or not, if you do, tiers are a great way to kind of symbolize certain milestones, right? One of the other tools that we use is the notion of challenges. That shows up in the gaming world quite a bit, where, hey, there's this limited time thing that we're doing that you can earn this bonus reward if you do X, Y, and Z, right? So that's how I would respond to that is, well-designed programs, to your point, Scott, are not cookie cutter. They don't look like everybody else's. They tap into the unique things about your brand, but they use these tried and true principles from the world of gaming to turn interacting with your brand into a fun game in an instant.
Yeah, no, and now I'm reminded of when I was looking for credit cards with point systems and which ones I could travel the most with. I have one card, Chase Sapphire, that I only use because I can say I went on this vacation with no cost for the air flight because of that. So And doing it right and finding what's really important to people's hearts and making it fun. I think that's really, really a huge thing for loyalty programs and a big differentiator for some of the blocking and tackling. Just kind of recapping here, having those emails that go out, knowing what your metrics are, what you want to measure. If you're looking to get more reviews, more detailed reviews, and then also taking those challenges you said, having tiers. So there's a lot of different levers that you can pull. And I wanted to transition really quick to talk about Flaunt, because I think we've got about 5 or 6 more minutes. Can you talk about the company, what you're doing, why you're different? Because I think this is such a huge opportunity. I talk with 6 to 7 business owners a day, every day. And just a lot of them don't have a loyalty program. They don't know what to do with the program. They have a small team. They have money, and it's a matter of how do I invest it? How do we track who's the right partner to deal with? And I had the pleasure of meeting you and Connor in Chicago and the team, and everyone seems fantastic. So talk a little bit about Flaunt, what you guys do that's different. And then also let's give people a way to connect with you if they want to continue the conversation.
Yeah, absolutely. So like I said at the top, we are a managed service loyalty partner. And I think that in and of itself is unique. And it's something that, again, we have through iteration really uncovered for the customers that we have served over the past couple of years. Like what is the most valuable thing that these customers are continuing to renew for? And the reason is our brains. When we first launched this business and decided we were going to really go all in on loyalty, we immersed ourselves in the loyalty space, in meeting as many loyalty experts globally as we possibly could. We got our certified loyalty marketing professional certifications, and that's a real thing. You can go look it up. If you see, in terms of how to get in touch, if you see us on LinkedIn, it'll say, Chris Miller, CLMP. Being experts in loyalty and, truly like thought partners for our customers is why we get business. It's why we retain business. And we are fully managed service. We design your program, we launch it for you, we manage it for you, we report on it for you, and come up with different ideas and optimizations to, there's certain things that once you've launched the program, like that kind of is what it is. You can change them every year or so. But one of the cool things about our platform is we've got the ability to launch those challenges that I spoke about, as well as personalized offers. And so those are tools at your disposal when you work with Flaunt to always be adding new things to the loyalty program that can create compelling events for customers to come back and engage. And you can tie those to specific things on your marketing calendar or new product drops. So that's, why people work with us is we're loyalty experts. We we roll up our sleeves and help grow your LTV as a true thought partner. And the loyalty program and some of these challenges and offers are just the sort of tools at our disposal, to help you do that.
Yeah, and that was my understanding too, because I think a lot of the strategy piece is stuff that business owners like, I don't have time to think about ways to make this creative. And with Flaunt, your team creates strategies, finds ways to make it fun, that are on brand, that are looking into who the customer is, then has the software and the team to execute those on behalf of the client. So you're really a true partner with the strategy and also with the execution and the ideation, because managed services means something different for all these different people out there. It's not just we're going to set it up for you. It's we're going to set it up with you, meet you, come up with ideas, run things by you, run new challenges, test the market, and gather all the data in one spot so you can see exactly how it's doing. Am I correct on that, or did I miss it?
That's right. Yeah, when you work with Flaunt, like your program is not set it and forget it. It's not cookie cutter. It's something that is going to embody all the things that you want consumers to do with your brand. It's something that's going to put those at the forefront. It's going to be tightly woven into your email and SMS communication channels, and it's something that is going to be monitored very closely and optimized by a team of loyalty experts on a regular basis. So it's a living, breathing thing. And yeah, to your point, Scott, around like the strategy, just the last thing I'll say here, there's the creative side of that. And like, how am I going to weave this brand story into a challenge, into a loyalty challenge, as an example. How am I going to weave our brand story and our unique differentiators and assets into the design of the program or the tier names? There's that side of it. There's also the financial strategy of what is the right amount of value to give away at each tier. And those are like all the things that, you know, as part of the onboarding process with Flaunt, that's the process that we're running through, not only with you, but frankly for you. It's not something where you are just like, you sign a contract and you're left to your own devices. We are designing the program in collaboration with you, but we're taking, you know, responsibility for that program and its success on an ongoing basis.
Well, that's pretty awesome, Chris. Really appreciate you joining today. How can people connect with you specifically? We'll share things in the show notes, but just shout out the best way to connect with you, to check out more on the company. And we look forward to working more closely with you and helping grow in some loyalty programs. So shoot that out, just talk it out, and we'll put it in the show notes, and then we'll sign off here.
Yeah, sounds great. If you want to learn more about Flaunt, go to flauntloyalty.com. And if you want to get in touch with me to learn more as well, Chris at flauntloyalty.com. Chris Miller is a pretty common name. So if you just search that into LinkedIn, you might see a few more before you see me. So I always just shoot me an email, Chris at Flaunt Loyalty, or Chris Miller CLMP on LinkedIn. Well,
there's only one Chris Miller in Chicago at Flaunt, and it's been awesome chatting with you and meeting you, Chris. You've got a really cool business, and I'm excited to watch you guys continue to grow. Thanks so much for joining today.
Yeah, thank you, Scott. Pleasure to be here.